A Liberal politician who favours closer ties with the European Union has won Romania's presidential election. Nicas Dan has an unassailable lead over the nationalist candidate George Simeon. In a victory speech, Dan told supporters the process of rebuilding the country would start tomorrow.
Part of me wants to cry because this is so ridiculous. This is so heartbreaking and so sad. Why?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, this is crazy. What kind of world is this?
The result in this week's Romanian presidential election was a disaster for Andrew and Tristan Tate. Let's talk about why. To understand this, we're going to have to go back to the early months of 2023, when the Tate brothers were arrested and incarcerated for several months in preventative detention for a series of charges including human trafficking, rape, and forming an organised criminal group. In the coming months, the man who calls himself the smartest man on the planet was reported to have been caught on recorded jail phone calls, telling one of his associates to pass on the message that he was willing to bribe certain politicians in Romania to help the Tates be freed of their charges. One of the politicians that Tate mentioned in these calls by name was none other than George Simeon. In the transcript of these phone calls, Tate brings up Simeon saying he's a protester or something. He's on Facebook, always posting about stuff. He tells the associates to talk to him and anyone else like him who doesn't like the corruption in Romania, and to understand that if he helps the Tates, he will be rewarded. Andrew says to talk to him and tell him this case is bullshit. They are Americans. They are making Romania look bad. Decot is corrupt. The associate suggests another politician who's a lawyer. Andrew says yes both. Tell them that Decot is corrupt and that this is a very bad image for Romania. These guys are innocent. Look, here are victims saying they are not victims. If you side with the guys, when the boys come out, they will make sure you are rewarded for telling the truth. In case you were wondering, yes, this was Andrew Tate's being caught recorded on jail phone calls, committing more crimes. The politician who Tate's tried to bribe, George Simeon, suddenly emerged as a frontrunner for the country's presidential election after the initial elections held on the 24th of November 2024 were annulled by the Constitutional Court after allegations of Russian interference. To give you an idea of why the prospect of Simeon becoming the president of Romania was potentially a major win for the Tate brothers, have a listen to him talking to Jackson Hinkle about the Tate brothers case and the deep state.
In Romania, I mentioned to you before we started the stream, I said, I'm a little worried about going to Romania. I speak out against the deep state, and I'm worried these people are going to arrest me. They've arrested my good friends, Andrew and Tristan Tate, bogus stuff, and they threw the case out. Now they're thinking about starting another case. I mean, how do you as a president tackle this corrupt bureaucracy? And really, who is it? Is it like one guy in the prosecutor's office in Decot that is doing all this crazy business? I believe it's just a few very, very corrupt officials. Is that correct?
So, I mentioned earlier that 3 days before the European elections, my campaign staff was arrested and taken to the police station to testimonies and so on. The same prosecutor that executed this was the prosecutor in the case of Tate brothers.
Wow.
So we don't have a real problem with the judiciary system because when you enter the judiciary system in Romania, including the Tate brothers, they found that there was no evidence against them. But you have these kind of prosecutors that are not listening to hierarchy and to their superiors, like the prosecutor in my case and in the case of Tate brothers, but they are listening directly to orders from the deep state in the States and in UK, directly to orders from the foreign embassies. And this is a problem because a hand of people who are controlling, who are the masters in Romania, the ambassadors, can get involved in the judiciary system. So I prefer to think we are still a democratic country, and in 2-3 months we will manage to do the same as President Trump did in the States, and we can make a better Romania and a better world for our children.
In George Simeon, Andrew and Tristan had a very much pro-Tate presidential candidate, and in the other presidential candidates they had something quite different. Simeon was running against the mayor of Bucharest, Nicas Dan. To see the difference in how Dan sees the Tate brothers, you only have to look as far as his response to when the Tate brothers' travel restrictions were relaxed after reports of the Trump administration pressuring the Romanian foreign minister to allow the Tates to travel to the US. Dan responded with this tweet, which when translated to English, shows him calling the Tates being allowed to travel with the charges hanging over them unimaginable. He said the future president of Romania must restore order to the country, to restore dignity, to respect and protect women, to ensure that the law is enforced. He said that what happened that day is a shame and cannot be let go so easily. So on this issue at least, we appeared to have two polar opposite candidates. And in the lead up to the election, some more news further linked George Simeon to the Tate brothers. G4 Media in Romania reported that they had obtained a copy of a contract signed by George Simeon, approving payments worth $1.5 million to give Simeon support amongst members of the MAGA movement. It involved him being interviewed by the likes of Steve Bannon and Robert Malone. In a bizarre twist, the Tate's communications director could be seen having accompanied Simeon to the US, and her name was reportedly on the contract. I find this incredible because what we know of this lady, she seems like an insane person. We first saw her when lawyers of the Tate's alleged victims conducted a press conference in Bucharest. This lady and the Tate's lawyer turned the press conference into a circus, disrupting the lawyers, and then when they were finished, setting themselves up at the table for an uninvited press conference of their own. The woman in question is the lunatic in the middle with the busted nose. And now, this crazy lady who works for the Tate brothers appeared to be somehow deeply involved in a presidential candidate. What a ridiculous timeline we live in. So I think we've pretty well established that Andrew and Tristan Tate were desperate for George Simeon to become president of Romania. Andrew said the matrix will break if George Simeon becomes the Romanian president. Tristan said Simeon has always been the anti-establishment choice. He wished Dan hadn't gotten into the second round and that the nightmare was over. But Simeon can and must defeat him. Andrew said he broke his brand new car on Bucharest roads. They're worse every day under the worst mayor ever, Nicas Dan. Total disaster for the city. Imagine him running Romania. On voting day, Andrew said Romania, vote today. Do not risk losing sovereignty. On election day, Tristan jumped on a Twitter live to give an impassioned plea to the young men of Romania to vote Simeon.
I care deeply about this election because I could just stay in Dubai and never leave. I could stay here and never leave and go back to Romania again. I could sell my houses there, stop saying the word Romania. And if somebody like Nicas Dan wins your stupid election, or if it's rigged in any way, then what's going to happen is the whole country's going to turn to shit. And I could sit in Dubai in my skyscraper, laughing and smiling, ignoring the problems of the Romanian people. However, I am now forever tied to your country by blood. My children are half Romanians. That is their country, and I care about their country very deeply. And I'd be a very bad father if I didn't speak up to what I think is going to happen. If you are a young man and you do not care about politics, you're not interested in politics, you're not interested in voting, I get it. Neither was I at your age. And I watched my own country turn to shit. And I live in regret with that because England is now almost beyond saving. What you're going to do if you vote for the wrong man today is you are going to slide down a toilet of degeneracy, immigration, LGBTQ plus agendas in your school and on your streets. And it will be 30 years before anyone brave enough comes along to stand up to the European Union and the then status quo of Romania, which is going to be the same as Western Europe in all of its failures. So I urge you all to do the right thing and vote for George A. Simeon. As I said, I'm not campaigning. I'm an American citizen exercising my right to free speech. I'm here in Dubai using an American platform. I've broken no laws. We'll see what happens. But I'm not scared of these people, and you shouldn't be either. Please vote for the right person today. Love you.
Of course, we now know that George Simeon lost the Romanian presidential election to Nicas Dan. Tristan took to Twitter to spread his tears, saying, "Well, Romania, we had a good run. Thanks for the pleasant memories." I should note that as I'm recording this video, the Tates are back in Romania to check in with the police station, as they are required to do as part of their judiciary control measures for their human trafficking cases, which they have repeatedly lied to their fans about, saying that they are dismissed. As for what Nicas Dan becoming the president of Romania means for the Tate brothers, that remains to be seen. Were the prosecutors holding off on preparing the new indictment, given the prospect of Simeon squashing the case if he was elected? Will Dan, now that he has been elected, urge DCOS to produce the new indictment, which was rumoured to combine the first and second cases? What I can assure you of is that if there are any developments, I will not be intimidated or silenced from sharing them with you. And for those that aren't aware, that is exactly what the Tate brothers are trying to do. They have filed a lawsuit against myself and a number of other individuals, simply for sharing court documents, evidence in their various cases, and the Tate's own moronic statements. I will not be silenced by these degenerates. A number of us in the lawsuit have started a crowdfund to support our defense. Please share the link on your social medias, and if any of you can help with a donation, it would be much appreciated.